Konnichiwa, Oshigotsu. Hello, hope you're doing well. I am Mike McMullen, and I am here in beautiful Birchwood, Tennessee, near the site of the historic Blythe Ferry. I'll say more about that in a little bit. I wanted to just say hello and talk a little bit about our cross-cultural experience to Cherokee, North Carolina. So hopefully you've checked out the website we've created on Google Sites. It's got some info about the trip that we want you to look at before we go on the trip. Okay, so it's divided up into a section on pre-trip info. We want you to check out that page, and there's some videos we want you to watch and a few articles we want you to read before we go on our trip. There's also a section that has just logistical information. So any kind of forms, maps, directions, packing instructions, all those kind of things are there. So check that out. And then there's also a page that has more resources, some extra cultural resources, a whole bunch of website links and videos, etc. We want you to check out. For any cross-cultural experience, it requires you to be curious and investigate and explore the culture. We don't want you to sit back and kind of passively take whatever we share with you. We want you to look at some things and explore. And so we've given you a few things we know will be helpful for you before we go on the trip. And then there's other things that it's up to you if you'd like to explore a little bit deeper and find out more about this Cherokee culture that we're going to be looking into. So I mentioned that I'm here in Birchwood near the old Blythe Ferry site. This is also the site of a memorial park for the Cherokee and what's known as the Trail of Tears. You'll be hearing a lot more about that in the course of the trip. But as you can see here, there's a great park here that talks a lot about what led up to the Trail of Tears. The Trail of Tears is, of course, the forced removal of any Native Americans who were east of the Mississippi, west of the Mississippi. And this is considered one of the main turning points in Cherokee history. We'll talk more about those historical turning points, European contact, colonial contact, the Trail of Tears, the Civil War, and then of course the Bureau of Indian Affairs and the tribal schools that were set up for them. These are huge moments in the last few hundred years of Cherokee history. And so this site here commemorates the place where many Cherokee were moved out west along the rivers here. The Blythe family, William Blythe, owned a ferry that crosses the Tennessee River. This area is right where the Tennessee River and the Hiwassee River meet. And so William Blythe had married a Cherokee woman, and they ran a ferry and like a store and a hotel here on this site for many years. And then around the 1830s, they end up selling it. And when the rest of the Cherokee people are forced to get on these boats right here at this area, they went with the Cherokee out to Oklahoma. And so some Cherokee were sent via boat, some walked, some a little bit of both of that. And I mentioned that just because, you know, we live here in Cleveland, Tennessee, and we've probably seen Blythe Ferry Road and maybe had no idea what that site was. And we are, you know, as Cleveland, Tennessee, we are in the middle of so much Cherokee history. We'll be going to Red Clay later. There are many sites just around town that probably just kind of drive past them, not realizing there is significance to that place there. So this is an important place. It's a beautiful scene. You can come and check out the memorials, and there's all kinds of educational things, as well as a beautiful view of the rivers there. This is a great graphic here at this memorial park. A huge map here showing right where we are there, Blythe's Ferry. We'll be going just east of us to Cherokee, North Carolina. And this shows the various routes that the Cherokee took on the Trail of Tears out to Oklahoma. So let me give you a little context. There are three federally recognized tribes of Cherokee Indians. And all of them are kind of sorted based on their relationship to this Trail of Tears. So you have the United Kidua Band, you have the Cherokee Nation, and then you have the Eastern Band of the Cherokee Indian, which we'll be visiting in North Carolina. The United Kidua Band, these are Cherokee who pretty early on saw the writing on the wall as far as expansion of the U.S., and they left pretty early to go out and start a new life there. The Cherokee Nation, these were people who responded to the Indian Removal Act and were removed from this area. Some of them went out a little bit earlier, John Ross and Major Ridge and others. There's a great documentary that we're going to have you watch as part of the pre-trip info, and you'll get a sense of those folks. So the Cherokee Nation left at the time of removal. And then the eastern band of the Cherokee, which we'll be visiting, are in Cherokee, North Carolina. And these are Cherokee who resisted the Indian Removal Act. Of course, Andrew Jackson orders the removal of all Native Americans east of the Mississippi River. The Cherokee fight this and actually win a battle in the Supreme Court that says they're actually a sovereign nation and those treaties must be honored. And Andrew Jackson says to the Supreme Court, good luck enforcing them, and then removes all of them. And so the Eastern Band are the Cherokees who say no, they're not going to go, and they resist. And so many of them fight. Many of them hide there in the mountains of western North Carolina, and they remain. Some who are living there now are Cherokee who did go to Oklahoma and returned, but they've been there since the beginning, and they live on what's called the Qualla boundary. And so some people have called what's happening in North Carolina a reservation. Technically, it's not a reservation. The Cherokee actually own that land. You'll hear more about how they ended up doing that. And so it is held in a trust by the U.S. government. And so officially it's the Qualla boundary and not a reservation, unlike what's happening out in Oklahoma. Those are reservations. So the Eastern Band lives on the Qualla boundary there in North Carolina. They are U.S. citizens, and they are also citizens of their tribe. I hope you can get a sense for how beautiful this place is. Not just this location, but the Appalachian Mountains in general where we live. It really is a beautiful place, and you can get a sense for why people would not want to leave. But I think it goes deeper than that. The Cherokee believed that they were birthed here in this land, and just a few miles west of Cherokee, we'll visit a site called Kadua, and they believe Kadua to be the mother town, the very first Cherokee town, and also the heart of the Cherokee. And so we'll get a chance to go see that. But for the Cherokee, they believed that this area was their Garden of Eden. This was the home they'd always had lived in. And so, when they're asked to leave, this is leaving their garden. This is leaving the birthplace of their people. And so that makes it a very difficult thing for them to do. One of the things that you'll find out is that the Cherokee, from the very beginnings of European contact, were assimilators. They easily looked for ways of assimilating European culture and tools, where they dress, into their own culture. And so in the 1830s, when they're all asked to leave, many of them lived and looked and sounded just like other Europeans who were living here, but they had no rights to the land they've been living on for thousands and thousands of years. And so this continues today. When we go to Cherokee, North Carolina, I think one of the challenges for students is to figure out, okay, what is Cherokee? What is Appalachian? What is a part of the ancient, the historical culture? What is something new from all this? When we go to Cherokee, you'll see, Food Lion and McDonald's and Wendy's, and you'll see all these things, next to these cultural places as well. And recently, the last 20 years, there's been the casino. Harrah's Casino has opened up there in Cherokee, and there's one also in Murphy, North Carolina. And this has had a huge impact on modern culture for the Cherokee. And as you'll see, some of them think of it in a good way. Many of them see it as a very bad thing. And so it's not always clear how the people as a whole feel about it. So, as you walk around Cherokee, you're having to figure out, okay, is this Cherokee or is this North Carolina? And the answer most of the time is yes, because those things were very, very closely related. And so we'll be meeting several people from the tribe. Of course, our goal is, um, you know, to let them speak for themselves. Let the Cherokee people speak for themselves. Let them tell you their story and listen to them. And so as you go, we just invite you to go and to listen. And it's okay to ask questions, and just listen to what they have to say about their own culture.